So, wow, that was one heck of a prequel episode filled with magic, tragedy, and Malcolm in the Middle box sets. While I was expecting something major this episode, which to be honest, we did actually get at the end, and sometimes our expectations and theories do run away with us. I remember those heady days of Infinity War and Endgame, but this was a truly great episode that was tugging on the heartstrings of the viewer. Kathryn Hahn was superb as the snarky witch, and of course there will be spoilers in this video, and if you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like down below and subscribe with notifications on to never miss a video, as we have MCU content weekly here on SuperHeroNexus. We open in Salem in 1693, as we have the witches, as we expected some Salem witch trials which started that year, but technically we did have that, as Agatha is interrogated by her fellow witches in her coven and accused of stealing dark magic, which, well, yeah, she clearly did. In the comics, she was a magical being that was very old by 1693 and was snitching on the weak witches to keep her coven strong, but was convinced to kind of just don't do this in Nova issue 6 of volume 2 and went off to found New Salem, and that is another video for another time. I expect they combine those stories into one here just for simple ease, and it's not a very well-known character in my opinion to have a complete and full origin of, but Kathryn Hahn is superb, and I think they may expand her as the MCU does rumble on. Now, Agatha here had been using magic beyond her station and was clearly powerful as her fellow witches and mother tried to destroy her, only for her to actually use the Uno reverse card and turn them into ghouls in the MCU's own Ark of the Covenant scene. She takes out her mother and steals the iconic Agatha Harkness brooch. We then cut to the flashback episode or classic sitcom clip show as we run through Wanda's life with Agatha. It made me laugh how Agatha said how Wanda's accent comes and goes, which is something which I've noticed and is much memed, but to be honest, she uses it to blend in with the Americans as of Civil War, and to be honest, we did see her family's obsession with learning Western culture, so it might be part of that. They discuss magic, and Agatha still has no idea what she is, as she explains basic protection skills and how only the caster can cast magic when these spells and incantations are put up, and Wanda's powers don't work down in the basement. Agatha runs through some spells and explains that it takes years to learn even transmutation and things like that. Maybe a hint at mutants? Yes, probably reading too much into it. Hey, it didn't take Doctor Strange long to learn powers either, did it? So yeah, anyway, Wanda's Westview manipulations are beyond advanced as we head into a "this is your life, but not before Senor Scratchy kills a bird." F's in the chat, boys. Of course, Senor Scratchy is a reference to Agatha's comic son, Nicholas Scratch. It's evident that Wanda has base powers, but we knew that long before this episode that the Mind Stone had unlocked something inside Wanda. We long expected this to actually be mutation, but it seems to be magic, and more specifically, chaos magic, which I'll discuss a bit more at the end of the episode. But the talk of Pietro is very weird, as she said he was possessed, which is very weird, and it wasn't like she used necromancy or anything like that, and it turns out that he might be someone from the town, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you thought of that scene, because to be honest, it would be a massive disappointment if he's just not someone from the multiverse. I hope it does turn out that Pietro was brought in to this universe via a dimension bleed or an unforeseen circumstance of the hex and that radiation, and was possessed if he's just some guy. Yes, it would be a letdown, but Pietro's MCU's body is on another continent, which confirms it's 100% not the Aaron Taylor Johnson Age of Ultron, and to be honest, it was pretty clunky, and I worry for a proper reveal further down the line. But now magic is to do with this, I expect that we will have multiverse madness Yeah, you get it? That's the name of Doctor Strange 2. That was a terrible joke, but moving on. Tommy and Billy are held hostage as they go into their first flashback in Sokovia, the day her parents died, and we see how she became obsessed with sitcoms as her father sold Western DVDs, but didn't manage to sell any that day as the loud Pietro rushes in and reminds them all to speak English, which Agatha keeps making fun of him for being loud, which really cracked me up. The family were learning Western culture and sat down to watch Season 2, Episode 21 of The Dick Van Dyke Show, aka the Walnut episode, and this is a clear basis for the first episode of Wandavision, which was a really nice callback, as the reason that it was a sitcom life is because this was always how she saw the ideal American life through her Eastern lens. Outside, we see conflict in the start of what seems to be the Novigrad bombings by the United States Air Force as Stark bombs fall, which was mentioned in previous MCU movies. This was the same one mentioned by the twins in Age of Ultron, as they wonder who the ones are there to save them, but, well, they don't know, because they don't know who is good and who's bad. It's very ambiguous, and this is setting the foundations for why they would go on and join Hydra, and why they would go on and join Ultron post-Hydra. However, in a major change of events, Wanda actually used a probability hex unknowingly on the bomb, causing it to not explode, which they thought it was then a dud. However, she had some hex powers pre-Mind Stone, and I will discuss exactly what she is at the later part of this video when we discuss that Chaos Magic reveal. It also explains the adverts, as these were her experience them, and sadly her parents weren't the ones in the adverts, which we did predict, but there's got to be more to that. However, after this, Agatha needs more to learn just how she can create the Westview with no training or knowledge of what her powers really are. They head into the origins of her Hydra experiments as she goes into the room with a scepter that contains the Mind Stone, and she volunteers to interact with it. It kind of reminded me of the people interacting with the Inhumans monolith in Agents of S.W.O.R.D, and we get a dark secret that tells us that no one has survived this interaction. I would imagine it's due to the whole fact that an Infinity Stone would absolutely melt you, as we learned in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. But instantly, Wanda does have a connection as the Mind Stone flies to her and washes over her, amplifying the power she already had. Now, that's really curious, as we see something in that Mind Stone, and that is a look at her proper costume, her MCU comics costume, which she will be having moving forward. However, it is what I think a vision of her mother, but it also has the look of Elizabeth Olsen, but I'll go into that in a bit. She sits and watches sitcoms in her cell, but the downside to this thus far is we learn nothing about Pietro or why he was so powerful, and I'd presume her lineage means that he also has powers too. But it's a shame we didn't get to see Aaron Taylor-Johnson one more time, and it's just gutting that we didn't get to see that. I guess his tracksuit was magic. That's all I can think of. But I'm going to discuss that a bit more in my episode 9 preview for tomorrow. But although it was funny hearing Agatha say Wanda responding to her parents being murdered was to join an anti-freedom group, which made me laugh. Now, as we see the Mind Stone wash over her, like I said, we see the true Scarlet Witch, but yes, this could be her mother, but more on that in a bit. Yes, a bit of a tease there for you. We'll then cut to watching Malcolm in the Middle, which, my God, that is one of the greatest sitcoms ever made. I'm just going to put my stake in the ground there on that. And it's one of the first times Vision and Wanda were alone, which must be post-Lagos in Civil War. She's in the Avengers compound and has a tender moment with Vision as they discuss grief, as Vision learns what a sitcom is, which was pretty funny. And he was there to pull her back from the brink, just like Pietro was after her parents died. But now she has no one. And we then go to learn that when she went to S.W.O.R.D HQ, she wanted to take Vision's body and bury him, but she's not allowed until Hayward lets her see what they're doing to Vision and have some closure. man, I don't like this guy and I don't trust him, as how harrowing would it be to see your loved one being chopped up and dismantled in front of your eyes, as per their remit as part of the sentient weapons observation team. And also won't let her put him in the ground because he's worth $3 billion of vibranium. Of course, that is gutting for her. She goes down to see him, but she can't feel him using some of her hex magic, but she ultimately leaves, and it seems the D-bag Hayward lied and she didn't steal his body. It's clear to me that he's up to more, clearly knowing about magic. While I don't think he's Ultron, I do think he's a demon of some sort, or perhaps a demon possessing Hayward, which seems a bit more likely. As she drives off, and after accepting this, she drives off to New Jersey, more specifically Westview, and we see the inhabitants and victims. And I loved how the postman was just an Uber Eats driver. It turns out the pair bought a plot of land to build a home on, and they were going to move to New Jersey just like the comics. And that is it. The grief overcoming Wanda creates this hex, as we predicted in our last breakdown, and we see an amazing meta moment as Wanda then creates Vision out of nothing, seemingly writing him into reality. And we get a slow clap as we see the cameras, the lights, and the audience chairs as Agatha works this all out. Absolutely superb. This is the greatest thing, in my opinion, the MCU or Marvel Studios has created, because this is another level, as Wanda rushes out to see her kids on magical reigns and explains that she has chaos magic and she's the Scarlet Witch. Well, duh, that's her comic book name. Yeah, work that out, bro. But this is a payoff of an earlier scene when we have Wanda see that vision within the Mind Stone, as I mentioned. Yes, I've banged on about Scarlet Witch 2015 for weeks now, but Wandavision is clearly an adaptation of that. 'Twas the year of 2015 and Fox and Disney were falling out over fan forstick, so Marvel changed Wanda's and Pietro's origin to that of not a mutant, or not so mutant heavy. It turns out that she is a descendant of the Scarlet Witch, a legend in her neck of the woods. And actually her true mother was Natalia Maximoff, a Scarlet Witch in a line of Scarlet Witches who have great power. Her children, the twins, were kidnapped by the High Evolutionary, and she died trying to save them. Now, Natalia was long thought a myth until the ghost of Agatha and Wanda found out the truth. But where does the magic, the chaos magic, come in? Well, the creator of the Darkhold, Sithon, I probably butchered that name, I cannot pronounce that, wielded chaos magic, and this was long thought a myth, but he was defeated by magical users and sealed in Wundagore Mountain, the birthplace in the comics of Wanda Maximoff, and she gained this chaos energy by touch. It turbocharged her mutate powers, which is kind of what happened with the Mind Stone in the show. So here it is. She's ridiculously powerful, and parts of her origin are, as of yet in the show, still untold, as we head into the post-credit scene and see White Vision. Hayward used Wanda's energy to turn him on, and we have the white version of Vision. We got post-Vision Quest, where he was stolen by an international coalition of espionage agents and was rebuilt without emotions later on when the dust settled. I do think that Hayward is someone else and has been manipulating everything from the very, very start. He sent Monica to Westview, which he learned just how powerful the energy is, and made Wanda look angry on camera to kind of set her up. He's clearly behind this. Maybe it was Hayward all along. But next up, we're due some major reveals, and I expect Doctor Strange to swing by, as how has he not realised all of this is going on in his back garden? He'll be like, what are all these witches doing in my yard? And I do think and hope that we will see Peter Parker at some point, considering that this is going to lead into Spider-Man 3 and what the heck is going on in that. But that's just a wide and crazy theory there. But that is it for this video, so please do drop a like down below. Please do subscribe with notifications on. We will have my preview video up at some point tomorrow, so do check that out. and I will be covering Tom Holland's movie Cherry at some point in the week as well. I've got some Pokemon to play, so do stay safe, do keep in touch with your friends in this crazy world because you don't want to lose anyone, and please do have a great day. I'll see you soon, and goodbye.